From the studios of Staten Island Community Television, you're watching In the Bleachers, the TV show for the world's most passionate sports fans. Hello, everyone. I'm Jaime Hixson.
And my name is Hector Bosa, the hardest, baddest, sexiest man on cable access TV, with the greatest variety show on cable access TV called the Home Invaders Variety Show. So, Jaime, there is a lot to talk about, but we have to talk since I don't know if they're getting a lot of coverage.
Oh, they're getting quite a bit of coverage.
All I know is that the Mid-Island wins another game.
Yep.
Now, let's talk about that for a moment, please.
Mm-hmm. Before we do, I just want to let everybody know that if you have a story, a really interesting story, such as Mid-Island, that you want to share with us, then we definitely want to know about it. So contact us through social media, through YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, where you can also see past episodes of our show. And you can also contact us through Instagram and Snapchat.
As a matter of fact, if you want to contact me now through Facebook, I'll be on to talk to you if you like. And we'll do what we can.
Both of us are going to be on Facebook.
I'm on Facebook right now, so if you want to chat.
And of course, we also have a separate page only for the show that's on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
So if you want, you can contact us through either medium.
Yes, exactly.
Now, the hottest story going on in the New York area are the kids from Mid-Island. They have already won their first 2 games of the Little League World Series, which is taking place in Pennsylvania. And just yesterday, they wound up winning 2-1 against the Southwest champions from Houston. So right now, Mid-Island Little League, I would say, is maybe halfway towards the next round.
How much do they have to go before they actually go all the way?
Well,
is it 2 more games?
They have 1 more game that I know about.
For the states.
Yeah.
For the states.
Mm-hmm. They have 1 more game coming up that I know about.
Right.
And they're going to be going up against Honolulu, Hawaii. It's going to be Wednesday night, 7:30 is first pitch. And Hawaii has had some very good teams in the past that have won the national title, mostly because of really good pitching.
And also because it's always warm out there, too.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to ask you, who's had the most wins? From the
American
United
or
American?
Yeah,
American. Which state has had the most?
California. California has dominated the national circuit in the Little Leagues. And, of course, internationally, it's been either Japan or Taiwan. Mostly Taiwan. Because what's that?
I'm surprised because some of those, like Dominican and Puerto Rico and all them, that's, I don't, what's going on? I
Santo Domingo's had some good teams in the past as well, although this year, the Latin American squad is from Puerto Rico.
Yeah, and you should give in to their hurricane because there's still a lot of deaths and they still don't have electricity still.
Mm-hmm.
But don't let it fool you, ladies and gentlemen. They still don't report this. They've stopped reporting this because they got everything else to report.
It's a good thing that the Advance has been along for the ride because that seems to be the only way, in addition to ESPN
once in a while,
because
WFAN
ESPN has always been broadcasting the Little League World Series. And, of course, ABC broadcasts a championship game in addition to the third-place game that's been going on.
WFAN once in a while says something. They always say something about it. And even New York won. I'm not trying to give plugs. It's just where I hear it and see it. Like I said, even Dave and Buster's, they're doing a promotion with them and so on. Mm-hmm. And let me ask you, how does it work? They're going to Hawaii. Who pays for that? Does the league pay for that, or does the parents? How does that work out?
I think it's the respective league that takes care of all of the travel itineraries.
Okay.
And the parents, of course, are included, and everyone makes their way into Williamsport, Pennsylvania for the tournament that takes place every 3rd week of August that it begins. and it lasts until the 4th or maybe the 5th and final week of August.
Now, this team that's here, these are the ones not from the Highland Boulevard one.
No,
this is
these are actually from Victory Boulevard.
Oh, the Victory Boulevard.
To be exact, it's the corner of Victory and Travis Avenue.
Oh, okay. Because there's a lot of little leagues out there, and I used to play in the one on Highland Boulevard, and then I moved up to Babe Ruth League on Seaview, where near Seaview Hospital is.
And just to give you an idea how often Staten Island has had a team represent the 5 boroughs in the Little League World Series.
They've only won once.
Yep. And it was Mid-Island that won it in 1964. And this year's squad, because of their success, has brought back a lot of attention for the 1964 title team. In fact, one of the guys from that team spoke to Howie Rose during yesterday's Met game against the Phillies, which was also in Williamsport.
And do you think they're getting the proper coverage?
I definitely think they're getting the proper coverage because ESPN is practically broadcasting every single game. They broadcast about 4 games a day for about 2 weeks.
That's good. I mean, in a way, is there a breakout? Now, you probably pay more attention than I have at this point in time, but I just want to know, is there a breakout star on the team? Are there a couple of breakout?
There have been a few guys who've gotten a little bit of press coverage.
I know the pitch is one of them, but I forgot the kid's name. I'm sorry.
There have been a couple of guys who've gotten a little bit of attention. I'm trying to see through the advance right now, and for the record, yesterday's game drew 18,000 fans.
Wow, that's better than W.W.E. Oh, man.
This is definitely better than certain WNBA. This is probably better than what Tampa Bay or the Miami Marlins get for their respective home games.
I'm happy.
And granted, this
what?
is the little leagues where the dimensions are much smaller.
60 feet.
Yeah. It's instead of it being 90 feet, it's 60 feet, and every home run goes about a good 200, maybe 250 feet down the lines.
Well, let me see. When I played, it was 300 was center. 300 was about center, and 250, 260, somewhere around there used to be right and left field, depending upon which field you played in, too.
And as for our boys from Mid-Island, Chris Bedford, Greg Bruno, Steven Martinez, and also the manager Joe Calabrese, and also Robert Cavallari, who was the big star of yesterday's game because they had a 2-run rally in the late innings that wound up paving the way for the victory over Houston.
And when they went to Philly, and they were a little nervous, according to what the coach said. And
well, naturally. I mean, this is the first time they've made it to Williamsport.
You know what? These are a bunch of kids, first of all. And you're going to be nervous. I mean, heck, even when you play, you want to win. And you don't want to be the guy that messes up. You don't want to be the last guy that strikes out. You don't want to be the guy that makes the error like Wade Boggs.
Yeah.
Oh, he was crucified when he
forget about it.
He was crucified to no end. They wanted to kill that man.
Yeah, you're probably thinking of
Now wait,
Bill Buckner.
Bill Buckner, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Who, by the way, was an outstanding
first baseman,
defensive first baseman, and a great hitter too.
Yes.
He had over 2,700 hits for his career.
Yeah, no, I believe it.
Didn't strike out any more than 30 or 40 times in a season. That's how dangerous he was as a hitter. Wasn't much of a home run hitter, but he was more of a line drive hitter.
Yeah, and that poor kicker that killed himself with the when he played against I think it was the Denver Broncos, was it? That you see, that's the type of pressure that these kids have.
Yeah.
Even though it's supposed to be a fun game, but when you're getting so much attention, I hope they go all the way because losing is hard.
It's really funny that you talk about this because about 10 years ago, when ESPN started doing their 30 for 30 stories, they had this one story about a team from Washington State that won the Little League World Series in 1982 when they beat Chinese Taipei, or Taiwan, if you will. Name of the story was Little Big Men. And
That was a good movie. I think that was a movie too.
One of the stars of that team was their pitcher, who was a little bit on the chunky side, yet was also the shining star for them.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, he wound up pitching a complete game in the championship game against Taiwan and led Washington State to victory. But the aftermath of what happened to that kid, you would not want to wish that on anybody. He was literally getting hate from the other kids in school.
Yes.
Then he was getting fat jokes coming his way because he was a little bit on the chunky side.
Unbelievable.
He contemplated suicide because of this whole thing.
That's a damn shame.
Somehow he was able to withstand all of the negativity that came his way.
Yes.
Over 35 years later, they're still talking about that famous team from Washington State.
Yeah.
Not too far from Seattle, in fact, that won that championship.
Well,
and it was at a time when tension was pretty high between the United States and some of the communist countries,
Yes,
specifically China.
Exactly. And you're right. You know, it's things like that when you start remembering, such as the Bill Buckner, the Doug Flutie, Hail Mary pass.
I still remember that pass to this day. You know, Doug had a really good pro career.
Yes.
He
He didn't get the fair treatment that he deserved, though.
Canada loved him, though, because when he
Yes.
went to Canada and played there for 8 years, the Canadian fans loved him. In fact,
Did he
I think
play for the XFL?
No, he never went to the
Oh,
XFL.
okay. I thought
He played in Canada, and in the NFL, he played for the Patriots, the Bears, the Bills, and the Chargers. I mean, he had a couple of shining moments in Buffalo. Took him to the playoffs a couple of times. And he even had a couple of shining moments with the Patriots.
Right.
Actually attempted a successful drop kick of an extra point.
Yes.
Which they used to do back in the day, but don't do anymore in the modern era of the NFL.
Yes.
But overall, he had a really good career. But he's gonna be forever remembered for that Hail Mary.
Yes, exactly. So hopefully there'll be one or two of these kids that you'll remember. And it's like going to college. If you do something great in college, you'll always be remembered for that one or two thing in college as well. So,
And speaking of the Little League World Series, because this tournament has been so big and so popular with the kids, Major League Baseball is working in conjunction with the Little League World Series to have a Sunday night ESPN game broadcast and played in Williamsport, Pennsylvania.
Good. They should.
Yep, they did this last year when the Pirates played the Cardinals.
Did it work?
It worked very well. This year it worked even better because the Mets played the Phillies, and the Mets currently have two former Little League World Series stars. Michael Conforto, who played for a Little League team in Seattle, and Todd Frazier, who was the game-winning pitcher for Toms River, New Jersey, when they beat Japan in the championship game 20 years ago.
That's something to remember.
This is the 20-year anniversary of when Toms River won the Little League World Series. And what did Toms River get for their efforts? They got invited to Yankee Stadium to take the field with each of the players for the national anthem.
Good.
And one of the kids wound up throwing out the first pitch. And who did Todd Frazier have the fortune of lining up against to stand for the national anthem? Derek Jeter.
Wow, that's a great story.
He was not only the starting pitcher for them, he was also a shortstop.
Yeah, wow.
And his career
That's
just
great, man.
blew up afterwards. He was a successful high school player, a successful college player
Now,
at
who we talking
Rutgers,
about again?
Todd Frazier.
Todd Frazier. Let's
who's
get
now
it
the
right.
Mets'
Okay.
third baseman.
Okay.
Great college player at Rutgers.
Right.
Got drafted by the Reds. Put in 6 good years with the Reds as a slugging third baseman.
Okay.
Then played a year and a half with the White Sox. Got traded to the Yankees and was a huge part of their success in the playoffs last year. And then he signed a 2-year deal with the Mets to be their third baseman. Unfortunately, his numbers have not been too great, but he's been money in the locker room for them.
Yeah, you have to have a good leader and somebody that lines to the crowd and so on.
And he has been he was such a hit, him and Michael Conforto, before last night's game. They all wound up rubbing elbows with the kids, not only from Tom's River, but from all of the minor league teams. All of the little league teams, I should say.
I wonder if Derek Jeter ever talks to Michael Todd Frazier and goes, do you remember me when I played in Little League?
They probably did.
Probably.
That day 20 years ago.
Because, I wouldn't imagine if one of those kids actually put a knee down. Oh, my goodness.
That would make for a really, really big story all over the country.
Oh, guys, please, kneel.
And just to give you an idea, the Mets pitching staff, Jacob deGrom, Noah Syndergaard,
Yes.
Steven Matz.
They just lost somebody today.
Unfortunately,
Speaking of
one of the
Mets.
guys, Matz, Syndergaard, deGrom, and also one of the other starters
Right.
actually sat with members of the Little Leaguers in the audience as spectators
That's great.
to see the Mets play the Phillies yesterday.
That's great.
And the best part about this whole thing is the Mets won last night.
That's great too. Because
And
they're in fourth place.
who was the hitting star of last night's game? Todd Frazier.
Oh, right. Way to go. You see, now this is like a happy ending story. This is great stuff to hear and see and so on. Do you think, I'm going to say, when they go all the way, do you think they'll get a parade here on Staten Island for sure? Or do you think
They'll definitely get one here on Staten Island.
They'll get one in the city, I think.
They deserve one in the city just as much as they deserve one here on Staten Island. And I think they would get one here on Staten Island.
Wow, I hope so because, if they go all the way, they really do damn deserve it because Staten Island needs a boost of something, boy.
Yeah. It's
these
not like
kids
we've been without our share of good players before. I mean, Staten Island has produced some really good players in the past.
But I've always said that we've produced more football players than baseball players and basketball players than even hockey players.
Yeah.
If you want to count the 4 majors, because I don't know of any soccer player yet.
John Wolniak.
Oh well, okay, then that's one.
Who not only played at Fordham, but had a really nice career in Major League Soccer.
Look at that. So, but...
And in baseball, Jason Marquis, Frank Minachino.
Yeah. Played with the Oakland A's, if I remember
Cliff
correctly,
Brantley.
yes.
Also, in football, Steve Gregory, Vernon Turner,
Right.
Joe Andruzzi, Dennis McKnight. We have had some really great athletes coming out of this
And
borough.
also football, too. I think there's been more success with football than we have with baseball. But the reason why I think they're pushing this so hard is so that baseball can be popular again.
Yeah.
So that it could be the America. Remember how it used to be baseball's All-American and apple pie and so on?
It used to be America's game.
Yes.
Now, until maybe a year or two ago, football was America's game.
Before the strike hit them. 1980 something?
The baseball or the football strike?
The baseball strike. That's what killed them.
1972, 1981, 1985, 1991, and 1994 have been the years where baseball had a work stoppage.
When they played when they tried to bring the scrapper.
1994 was really bad because that was when they tried bringing in the scrubs.
The scabs. I mean,
Some good players came out of the strike situation.
Yeah.
2 of them wound up playing for the Mets. Benny Agbayani, who hit a big home run against the Giants in the playoffs, and Rick Reed, who was also a big game pitcher for them.
There are some people that don't want to break the line, but when you need a job and you need to feel, you need to help your family out, it's you got to do it for yourself, not for the people. So it's on one hand, it's good to support the unions, and in a way, if you have to feed your family, you forget the union and say, I got to feed my family, or I got to take care of me first.
It's funny that you bring up that 1994 strike, because that year, while 29 teams were forced to use replacement players, the Dodgers, who at that time was managed by Tommy Lasorda, he was in his final years managing the team. Tommy Lasorda used minor league players from A-ball and double-A ball to try out for the team that spring.
How did they do? Do you remember?
Those kids actually did reasonably well.
Who did the best out of that year, if you remember correctly?
Raul Mondesi.
The teams. Who
in 1994?
Yeah, when they. Do you remember
when the strike hit that year?
Yeah.
The Yankees were actually in first place in the Eastern Division, and that was also the first year of the 3-division setup with the wild card.
Okay.
And guess who else did probably the best out of everybody? Montreal.
Really? How so? Tell me.
Montreal had 74 wins that year and were the best team in baseball because they had guys like Pedro Martinez, John Wetland.
Oh, yeah. The Yankees had him too, boy. Yeah.
Delino DeShields, Marquise Grissom, and quite a few other guys, all of whom could have led them to a potential championship if it had not been for that strike.
Yes. I know there was when the strike hit afterwards, it was the first. They split into 2 seasons, and the first place teams had to fight.
1981.
Had to play against each other, if I remember correctly.
Yep, it was 1981. And that was also the year...
wasn't that one of the Wade Boggs incident, too, that year?
Possibly.
Because I forget what the tar accident...
Oh, you mean the pine tar incident?
Wasn't that around the same time?
That was actually 2 years later.
Oh, okay. Boy, I'm...
But you raise a good point, though, because 1981 was the year where they decided to split the season in 2 because of that strike.
Yes.
And as it turns out, that was also the first time that they ever went to a division series format. And the Yankees wound up playing Milwaukee, and Oakland also played in that series. I'm not sure exactly who they played against.
Right.
But also that year, the Dodgers played the Expos.
Oh, so the Dodgers did it with the minor league players. So that was
and the Phillies played against the Astros, and the Phillies won this really, really hard-fought series against the Astros. That was the year that Pete Rose was in his second year with the Reds, and the Dodgers wound up beating the Expos on a Mike Scioscia home run.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was either Mike Scioscia or Bill Russell that hit this big home run at Olympic Stadium. And then the Yankees and the Dodgers would face each other in the World Series.
Again.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was also the same World Series in which George Steinbrenner allegedly got assaulted by a couple of Dodger fans in the hotel in Los Angeles.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, goodness gracious.
And then when the Yankees lost the World Series to the Dodgers in 6 games, by the way, that was the Fernando Valenzuela World Series.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Fernando Valenzuela owned the Yankees in that series.
Yeah, he was a hell of a pitcher.
Then the Dodgers won the series in Game 6 when Willie Randolph made this really, really big error in the early innings of Game 6. The Dodgers won that series in Game 6, and then Steinbrenner issued an apology to Yankee fans everywhere.
Oh, okay.
And that apology rubbed a lot of Yankee players the wrong way.
Yeah.
So badly, a bunch of them left when the season ended. One of
Yeah.
them being Reggie Jackson, who went to the Angels.
Yeah, that was the last time. But I tell you something, though. The Yankees are not the same without Steinbrenner. I don't think Steinbrenner could. A lot of those people from back then, even managers, I don't think they can survive the new era of the Teflon era where you can't talk to a person. You have to talk to a person a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't bench your best player because he's making so much money and so on. And, imagine Billy Martin doing the stuff that he used to do. I mean, he was a great manager, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But come on, there are things you can't do anymore. You don't even see managers pick up the bases and throw it anymore, really, But,
Although I did see in a minor league game,
yes,
a manager actually
picked up the third base. Yes,
picked up third base and gave it to a fan,
and then
which
the
I thought was hysterical.
The umpire got it back, and I hope they give him a bat or something, because I would have taken the third base damn thing and ran with it. But talking about the Yankees, Didi Gregorius is out.
Yeah,
He's
unfortunately, he's on the
DL.
disabled list.
And so is a couple of the other Yankees.
And that's why they brought up Ronald Torreyes from the minor leagues. And they're happy to see Ronald Torreyes back because that's a kid who's paid a lot of dues in the sport of baseball. He's been up and down quite a bit between the minors and the majors. Last year, he had a rather solid season with the Yanks, but unfortunately this year he got caught up in a numbers game and he wound up being sent down to Scranton-Wilkes-Barre for a time. And yeah, unfortunately there are a couple of other guys that wound up getting put on the DL as well.
I have a report. This is a wrestling news, ladies and gentlemen. It says CM Punk got offer for All In. It says here, Cody Rhodes says Punk got full offer to wrestle at September pay-per-view event, but is set on not being part of it. Yeah.
Is this from the Ring of Honor?
Yeah, this is part of the Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks. They did the All In. They did in Chicago.
Because if this is Cody Rhodes that you're talking about,
Yes.
this could mean only one of two things: the Ring of Honor or Japan.
In New Japan, they're both going to be on there as well. But this is their baby. This is their independent show. They proved to Dave Meltzer that they can do it. According to what I heard, that he said that they couldn't fill up two. I think I forgot how many people in the stadium, but they filled it.
That's good.
They filled it as an independent, and they want CM Punk to come out so bad. It would be great to see him back. I'd like to see him wrestle Daniel Bryan, believe it or not. That would be fantastic.
Either way, it would be great to see him back in the ring again.
But it all depends.
He's still a young guy.
Who would be wrestle? It all depends who he would wrestle, first of all. It can't be just any Joe Schmo and so on. But going back to that, Cody Rhodes is wrestling for the NWA Championship Wrestling against Mr. Adidas, Nick Adidas. And who is, I forgot this girl's from WWE.
Depends on which one you're talking about.
Yeah, I forgot her name, but she's married to him. But the Smashing Pumpkins.
Billy Corgan?
Billy Corgan owns the NWA now.
Really?
So, yes, he's doing something with the NWA, and he's putting up his 10 pounds of gold as well.
The question is why, and how does he get a job like that, not even having any connections with the sport?
He had it on TNA, and he went to battle with them in court and broke off from them because he was on TNA for a while, and then he broke off. Then he decided that he was so into wrestling so much that he wanted to buy his own organization, and he wanted to buy the NWA, the oldest organization in wrestling.
Yeah.
And so far, Nick Adidas is their champion, 10 pounds of gold. Cody Rhodes, his father, held the NWA championship belt. So that's all it is. Let me ask you, we were enjoying the wrestling show yesterday.
Oh, yeah. In case you didn't know, SummerSlam took place in Brooklyn last night. Overall, I thought it was decent.
It was some of the stuff was okay, some of it was not okay, but all in all, it was a good show. You know, we didn't really get to see the kickoff, but
We probably were better off
205. No,
passing up on the kickoff.
They actually had some good matches with Drew Gulak,
Mm-hmm.
and I forgot the champion's name, but it was a great match. They shouldn't do just kickoffs. They should just put him in and be done with it. The title was changed 4 times yesterday as well.
Yep. Unfortunately, one of those title changes came at a cost.
Well, again, this is my beef. I have a beef with this one. Becky Lynch, they're always trying to turn someone heel, thinking that they're going to resurrect their career, which is true. It can't happen. But with Becky Lynch, I'd like to see the way ECW used to handle it, the old NWA used to handle it, ECW, TNA, WCW, where face versus face, heel versus heel, you had great matches. But now all of a sudden, WWE, you have to be a heel
In order to face.
to face. Because look
A
at
face.
Shinsuke Nakamura. That should have been a better match than it was. It was a crappy match.
Yeah, I don't think I saw Shinsuke Nakamura at his best. And I saw him only for the first time last night, and he did not look like he was at his best. In fact, he looked a little bit out of shape, though.
No, I tell you, you see his New Japan stuff and his NXT stuff is fantastic. What they're doing to him is an atrocity. Anybody that comes up from NXT that goes to WWE, Raw or SmackDown, is an atrocity because the Ascension is an atrocity. There's been a lot of people. The Revival has been an atrocity. All them guys that have come up, they've buried them to no end. And yet Vince McMahon wants to get Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks. They just signed Matt Riddle as well, the Rocket, EC3. I mean, they have it. Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, I don't know. That's been a great match. I wish Gargano would win because he's Johnny Wrestling. But I have to tell you, going in that order, I wish they would just give Becky Lynch just more of an attitude. Like, hell, I want to win and that's it. I'm going to beat you and I'm going to do whatever I can. I don't have to be a heel to beat you. I'm going to beat you as a professional, and that's all there is to it. But that was one of them. We saw Ronda Rousey for the first time. How did you enjoy her match?
Oh, brother. Let me tell you.
All them judo flips was something.
Yeah,
right?
I've seen her in MMA.
Excuse me, judo throws, not flips. Judo throws.
I saw her in MMA. She was a beast in MMA because she not only was a great intimidator, but she made quick work of her opponents. This was the first time that I saw her in a WWE match. She looked like she's been doing this thing for 2 decades. The way she just toyed with Alexa Bliss, it was just the stuff of iconic proportions. I mean, she went through her like she wasn't even there.
She's
and the way
nothing, and let's call it as it is. When you're a great talker, they forget about wrestling. Alexa Bliss is a decent wrestler, so is Carmella. But if you just want wrestling, they're not their best.
Tell you what.
They're not the best wrestlers. They're great talkers, but they're not the best
It's
wrestlers.
obvious, not only did Rousey really have it in the ring, she really let her personality show during that match because when she practically flipped her outside like a rag doll, she talked so much trash to her that she practically baited her to attack her from behind.
I tell
and
you.
which Bliss did foolishly. And what happened? She wound up getting another beatdown.
I'm telling you flat out, I wish Paul Heyman would be her manager because she can't
Oh, he would
really
be perfect
talk.
for her.
I wish he would have Asuka.
Mm-hmm.
She can't talk very well. Shinsuke
Probably the language barrier.
Yeah, Shinsuke Nakamura. I wish he had all them guys. I wish they would bring back managers. Put it that way, heel and face all together. I wish they
miss
would
the
bring.
managers.
I miss the managers a lot because for those guys that can't talk, hell. It worked. It worked. It could still work.
It was astronomically entertaining.
TNA or Global Force Wrestling or whatever they're called now, they're actually bringing back a little bit of the manager, and that's working, believe it or not. And TNA is actually doing a very good job coming up in the ranks. And RH and New Japan Pro Wrestling, and watch all the wrestling you can, ladies and gentlemen, and then you tell us which one is the best one. I think NXT is great. New Japan Pro Wrestling, ROH, TNA.
There's another promotion called Combat Zone, which has been around
Combat
almost
Zone.
2 decades.
Yes.
It's practically ECW light.
Yeah.
It's obvious the skill is extremely raw, but
Lucha
these guys
Underground
have
too.
so much potential.
We have to see Lucha Underground. We're
Mexico,
gonna go,
of course.
We're gonna go to my house and we're gonna go and we're gonna watch some of these wrestling matches.
Here's some food for thought, though.
Yes.
Remember back in the day when some of these managers used to be wrestlers? For example,
Yeah.
Bobby Heenan was a really good wrestler.
Well, most of those
back in the day.
The majority of them were wrestlers, ex-wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
Classy Freddie Blassie, Lou Albano.
Yep.
All them guys that, for those people that are stuck in the 80s,
Mm-hmm.
there were much more other people, in the 70s and in the 60s and the
Mm-hmm.
50s. Like, there are so many people out there that I can't remember right now, but
Mr. Fuji also,
Mr.
an
Fuji,
outstanding
yeah.
wrestler who became a manager.
and they were able to talk still. But that's what I'm saying. I
Mm-hmm.
think they should bring back the managers for those people that can't really let them learn their craft that way.
But to lead into this, do you think that some of these managers should be allowed to wrestle under special stipulations?
If they go back to the old ways, sure, why not? It was fun back then, why not? If you know how to do it right, if you know how to set it up properly, it's great. It's a great thing to do, and I think they should do it. Plain and simple. I think they should come out and flat out do it, and that's it. That's all there is to it. But Roman Reigns finally winning the title.
Yeah.
And
But
the way they did it was special too, because he didn't flat out beat him. It was the fact that Braun Strowman was there.
Yeah, which I think added a lot more to this. And to be quite honest with you, this is probably the toughest test that Lesnar has faced of any WWE opponent since he faced The
Goldberg
Undertaker.
was his toughest test because he lost to Goldberg. But the thing is, Braun Strowman, I think, when they fought, they had a tough time and so on. But didn't you find it a little funny that Lesnar looked a little smaller? His body was not as bulky as before.
Interesting.
And he's going back to the UFC, supposedly.
Honestly, I did not really see that much of a change at
well,
all.
I tell you, he looks smaller. Even the guy from UFC, the guy that's holding the heavyweight championship belt and the other heavyweight championship belt, he's saying that he looks smaller.
Interesting.
He looks flabbier, and he's going back to the UFC. So this is going to be a great time.
Well, if
Cyborg.
Christiane Cyborg,
Christina, she wants to go to WWE
Oh, brother.
just to fight Ronda Rousey because, according to her, Ronda Rousey's scared of fighting Cyborg.
oh my
But
goodness.
they always had their beef. But going back to yesterday, let me tell you, you had Becky Lynch versus Charlotte, and what's the name from Staten Island?
Carmella?
Carmella and
Brooklyn by way of Staten Island.
Yeah, well, okay. Flair won.
Yeah. It's painfully obvious who the better wrestler of that trio was in that match.
Becky Lynch and Flair are the best wrestlers right there. But let me tell you, when Evolution comes along, that the all-female pay-per-view cast that they're going to have, for the love of God, please put a WWE Women's Tag Team Championship and Live 201 Tag Team Championship on those guys, please. If you're so great into the women, let them have an Intercontinental belt and also a Tag Team Championship belt, please. Because you're making all this big schmoo about all these women and so forth. Give them the shot. I hope in the way it's going to be explosive. Hopefully, my mouth will pay because according to Alexa Bliss wants to fight Chris Stratus and so forth.
Chris Stratus,
so
yeah.
that's
the Hall of Famer.
So that's going to be a lot of all of Hall of Famers are going to come in, and the Mae Young Classic is coming up again. So there's a lot of great, even TNA and ROH have great female wrestling.
Yeah.
So I support female wrestling. Now, here's a question for you, even though this is not a wrestling show, but this is a sports and entertainment show. I'll call it that way.
Yep.
And that is Lucha Underground has female wrestlers versus male wrestlers. Do you agree with that? And do you think that that entices domestic violence?
That is a terrific question. If I had to answer, I think it's a great idea because, for one, after having seen women in the past like Jackie and the late Chyna both wrestle men, we've already seen that Jackie, number one, can fight, and number two, Chyna can take on any opponent at any time. And three, whether this glorifies domestic violence or not, wow, that's really going into some dangerous water.
That was one of the problems. But here's the deal. Here's the thing too. If that's the case, then don't even take off wrestling. If you're not going to teach your kids that wrestling is an entertainment, but it does hurt people. If you can't teach your kids that this is for professionals only, then you are the one that's doing the worst job of all. Now, again, it all depends on storylines to me, because if the person's 6'2" or 6'3" and let's say 250, 260, and she's $165 and 5'5", I'm not going to believe that nonsense. So if it's the right condition and the same height and almost the same weight, they can put on a great show. Lucha Underground does put on a great show, but it's hard to see women and men go at it because men supposedly have the bigger strength and so on. But once in a while, wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing it. It all depends how you play it off.
And at the same time, this also builds an image for women of empowerment, and that they can defend themselves against anybody, men or women.
Exactly. I mean, like I said, I'm not gonna believe. I don't care if you do the flips and so forth. 250-pound man that's 6'3" versus a 5'5", and she's doing splits and trying to do whatever, and he's going along with it. That I don't like. But when it's the same height and it's almost the same size, I can somewhat see it. It's great to see. But that was a question that was brought up a while ago about wrestling, and it's hard. But Basham Brothers or whatever they're called, they lost by disqualification.
You mean the Bludgeon Brothers?
Yeah, they're ridiculous again. Again,
their gimmick or the fact that they're still together as a team?
No, it's so sad that WWE, before in the 80s and in the 90s, and even before, and even in the 70s, the tag team division was a great division, and this has become a joke. This has become nothing but a joke.
Well,
in other divisions,
I think the New Day is a joke, especially the gimmick that they've got going on.
You know what? It's gotten them over because the way they were before, they were not getting over. If it wasn't for them doing what they're doing and giving ideas and pushing that envelope, McMahon wouldn't have done it. They're ready to cut them loose. But their gimmick worked. They made their gimmick work, which is great. Which is a great thing.
Well,
I mean, in ROH, you got three team, you got belts for 3 people and so forth. But enough of wrestling because if you're gonna see Monday Night Raw, you're gonna see all that.
Yeah, that's gonna be starting in 15 minutes or so.
But let me ask you, going back to baseball, the Yankees and Mets and so on, do you think the Yankees made proper trades?
Yes.
Or
I
should they
love
have gotten
the J-Hap
more?
trade. He's won 4 straight starts since he first put on the pinstripes.
But has it been with great teams, or has it been with teams that they should be able to beat?
It's a combination of both because, granted, one of his starts came against Toronto over the weekend. But at the same time, a team can only do as much as what the schedule is dictated to them. It just so happens that they had a 3-game series with the Blue Jays over the weekend, and that just so happened to be J-Hap's former team. So naturally, he's going to want to try and do well against the team that just traded him at the end of last month. Overall, J-Hap has pitched very well for that team.
Now,
Lance Lynn has also pitched well for them, specifically in relief.
Should they have gotten a big name player like, let's say, Jacob deGrom?
That rumor was so hot for so many weeks. I would have thought maybe they would have done some talks. I think they might have had a conversation or two, but the asking price that the Mets wanted,
exactly.
way too much for
That's
the
the
Yankees'
problem.
blood.
Let me ask you, when the Dodgers got Manny Machado, do you think that was a good trade?
Oh,
now,
yes.
I know that was a good trade for the Dodgers, but they did give up a lot to get him.
Yes, they did. They gave up some really good prospects to get
Was it
the Orioles.
worth all that?
Yes.
All those people. Now, how
Big
many
time.
people did they give up? Do you remember?
They gave up, I think, a quartet of prospects.
Wow.
And the Dodgers organization has long been rich in prospects, so naturally they were going to try and sacrifice a group of them to make a big deal like this.
Right now, in your estimation in baseball, who has made the better trades? Who's gotten better because of the trades?
The Dodgers have for one. The Yankees have gotten slightly better pitching-wise. I think they got the 5th starter that they so desperately needed to go along with Sabathia and Severino and Masahiro Tanaka. And also they brought in Lance Lynn to help solidify the bullpen.
Right, okay.
And now Sonny Gray, because he was pitching so poorly, he's been put into the back end of the bullpen. He's pitching really well so far.
Okay, that's good.
And you put him in there with Chapman, David Robertson, Chad Green, Dylan Betances. That's 5 guys the Yankees could go to who can probably spell somebody that has been a disappointment for them. And also you add in Jonathan Holder, who's also in the back end of the rotation.
I'm going to go by Boston. They're in first place with 88 wins.
They are head and shoulders above any team in either league right now.
Yankees. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Boston. Finish with Boston. Did they make any trades that improved them?
If I'm not... Oh, yeah. It was the Steve Pearce trade that they wound up making with Baltimore. That's another thing. Baltimore was not shy about wanting to make a deal within their own division, and they wound up sending Steve Pearce over to the Red Sox. He hit 3 home runs in a game against the Yankees. a couple of days after the trade.
Now, we talked about the Yankees, who's in second place with 78 wins and 46 losses. Now,
Do you know
Tampa
that
Bay,
they could win 100? They might win 100 games this year and still not win a division title.
I can believe it. I'm hoping that Boston slows down. They got to slow down, but with all the Yankee problems that they're having with Didi Gregorius and Judd and Severino, you got to hope and pray that they come back stronger than ever, and hopefully they'll so on. But Tampa Bay, strong. Did they do anything?
Tampa traded Chris Archer to Pittsburgh for a bunch of prospects. So now their best starter is trying to think of the kid's name.
But they did do a good trade, right?
Yeah, well, it was a good trade
Trade-wise.
for Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh needs pitching. But right now,
But Toronto didn't do that good.
Tampa's basically
Tampa.
using guys for 1 or 2 innings per start, and then they're doing their bullpen by committee.
Okay.
As far as Toronto's concerned,
Toronto,
is
yeah.
basically looking ahead to the future. I mean, they made a couple of trades in addition to the Hap trade.
Baltimore?
Baltimore's a mess.
Did they do any trades that helped them, or did they do any trade? That's what I'm trying
The
to
Steve
get with.
Pierce trade to the Red Sox got them a prospect or two. The Machado trade got them a quartet of prospects. Right now, they are strictly looking ahead to the future. There's still the issue of what they're going to do with Adam Jones. Are they going to trade him,
Right.
or are they going to bring him back for next year?
Now we got 2 minutes, so let's see if we can go with this. Cleveland.
Much better.
Cleveland, any trades? They do good?
Did not make any major deals, but right now, their best pitcher is Corey Kluber, and he's been coming on like gangbusters for them.
Minnesota Twins at second place, Central Division. Any
Made the
trade?
Lance Lynn trade with the Yankees to get one of their top prospects, and also that the Yankees sent away Billy McKinney to the Blue Jays for Hap. McKinney's been hitting the ball pretty well for them, but the Twins are a disappointment. They were a playoff team last year, and they've just fallen with a really loud thud.
Now Detroit.
Detroit's doing a lot of rebuilding.
Okay, and Chicago.
The Chicago White Sox, among the worst teams in the league, they're also building with prospects. I think they might be a good 3 years away.
But they didn't get any. Did they get prospects to help them out in trades?
Before the season, yes.
Okay. Kansas City
Kansas
was in
City's
last
horrible.
place. Did they do any trades? Any trades that help them out?
I think it was the Mike Moustakas trade over to San Diego.
Okay, the Western Division. Houston is in first place.
They're in first place, but they're falling on their heels right now because Oakland swept a 3-game series from them over the weekend. Oakland's doing this not just with pitching, but they're also doing it with a really, really strong bullpen. They made the deal to get Jody Familia from the Mets, and he's really strengthened their bullpen now. Now they have 2 closers.
So Houston didn't make any good trades, or did they make good trades?
No major deals
No major
to
trades
speak
help
of,
them
no.
out. Oakland, spot on.
Oakland is doing much better for themselves.
Seattle,
Seattle's a team that's also in contention. Didn't make any major trades, but they're doing it with pitching right now.
Los Angeles Dodgers.
Meh.
Okay, no Manny Machado. That was a trade in itself.
But that was to the Dodgers,
I'm sorry.
though.
I'm sorry. That
I will say
California.
this, though.
Los Angeles,
Mike
South California.
Trout of the Angels might be the second best player in baseball behind Mookie Betts of the Red Sox.
Nah.
I say Mookie Betts of the Red Sox is the best player in the game.
And Texas. I'm sorry.
Texas is
Los
doing a
Angeles,
lot of
California.
rebuilding.
Yeah. All right. Now in the National League Division, Atlanta. major
Atlanta
trades.
looks like they're slowly but surely pulling away from the Eastern Division right now. They have a little bit of a cushion between themselves and the Philadelphia Phillies, and the Braves are doing it with their minor league system. They're bringing up all these kids. Every single one of these kids is performing some kind of important role for them. One of which is Ronald Acuna. He might be the National League's Rookie of the Year this year.
So they're actually doing it through their system, but not through major trades or anything.
No
of
major
that.
trades.
And Philly too? No major trades or anything.
Philly
of
might
that
wind up
nature.
making the Asdrubal Cabrera deal with the Mets.
And Washington?
Washington, their biggest issue is what's going to happen with Bryce Harper. Is he going to be re-signed or is he going to leave?
No major trades. To
No
improve the
major
team,
trades
also.
to think of. No.
Mets, major trades to improve or no
Traded
improvement.
Asdrubal Cabrera. Other than that, they've basically been looking ahead to the end of the season.
Miami
is another team that's been building a little bit, and they also traded. Miami actually made a big deal with Philadelphia. They wound up sending their big slugger Justin Bohr to the Phillies, so the Phillies can get a little bit more pop. He's been okay, but Philly's really, really fallen by the wayside now.
in the Central Division, you have Chicago.
Not a major trade made by them, but at the same time, pitching has been spurring that team, and they've also gotten big hits in the late innings that have catapulted them.
Milwaukee's
dangerous. They're doing this with pitching. Their outfield has become significantly more powerful, especially at the plate. Look out for the Brewers as a potential wild card.
and St. Louis Cardinals. But any major trades and within no major
trades by either the Cardinals or the Pirates, except for Chris Archer
Okay.
and
Pittsburgh.
also for the Reds.
Pittsburgh.
Made the Chris Archer deal, but they're practically going up and down this season.
Cincinnati. The Matt Harvey trade.
Yeah,
but
the Matt Harvey trade is the one big deal that they made. But other than that, I will say this. Ever since they made the manager change,
Yes.
hiring Jim Riggleman, they've been a 500 club, so they've played slightly better baseball.
Arizona.
Arizona's a different team with Torey Lovullo as the manager. And, of course, having a really solid pitching staff led by Zach Greinke is always going to help matters for them.
Yeah, but again, no major trades,
deals made by them.
Colorado.
Colorado is another team to watch for out west. Even with the bandbox that is Coors Field, their pitching staff has been so much better this year.
The Los Angeles Dodgers, of course, Manny Machado and all them, but giving up prospects. So who got the better deal?
The Dodgers did.
Even though they gave up a certain amount of
because
people.
they just solidified third base by having him.
Okay, and well, he's done for 1 year, so they don't know if they're going to re-sign him. San Francisco
is basically teeter-tottering back and forth. They're in town to play the Mets. They're playing the Mets right now as we speak.
But no major trades
made by them.
And San Diego
just made the Mike Moustakas deal, but that's a team that is a long way away from contending.
Well, I got to tell you, going back, the Jets are having problems. It's a good problem, which is they don't know who's going to be their starting quarterback.
I think it should be Sam Darnold.
You really think so?
Yeah, this kid's the real deal.
They should just try him and see him, man.
He has made one mistake the first two games, and that was throwing a pass into a zone defense, which wound up being tipped for a pick. Other than that, he has been phenomenal. The Giants, they won their first game of the preseason, yet the majority of the 30 points that they scored were with their two backup quarterbacks.
Wow.
And you consider that Saquon Barkley got benched because he tweaked his hamstring.
Right.
They wound up winning it with guys like Wayne Gallman getting the majority of the carries.
Well, next time we'll get together and we'll go down the list and who made the best trades and so on.
And for the Giant fans who might be concerned who's going to take over for Eli Manning as their quarterback once he retires, don't be surprised if it's Davis Webb. Davis Webb looked really good last week, taking the snaps from center.
You know what? And like I said, we'll go over any Islanders or Rangers or Devils news.
Training camp is starting next month.
All right.
And the regular season starts in early October.
And basketball is coming up soon, too.
Their regular season is going to start in the middle of October.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we must bid you adieu, farewell, adios. My name's Hector Bosa.
And my name is Jaime Hixson.
Baddest, sexiest man on Cable Access TV. If you want to be on my show, contact me at homeinvadersradioshow.com or homeinvaders@yahoo.com. And Jamie, take it away.
And of course, if you have a story, a sports story that you want to share, feel free to share it with us through Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Snapchat. So for everyone here, I'm Jamie.
I'm Hector.
Good night, everyone.
I am not a crook.